What up, party people in the house? Dun dun dun. Good morning. Hi. Today you may notice that this is not a live video, and that is because, well, a lot of things happen. So today is Tuesday, and Tuesday is the day that Sue works from home, and so she is upstairs using the office with the computer, and she's also has a call, so I can't actually do this show up there because it would be distracting. So I'm down here, but we don't have internet down here yet, so I had to rely on the ability of my phone to just record this video, and that's how it's gonna turn out. Now, I'm actually kind of excited though, because we're gonna see, I think the quality of the video is gonna come out way nicer today than it has in the past. I really like the live format, but anyway. As you will have seen from the title of this video, which I have yet to actually physically type, but I will in the short term, today I want to talk to you about a video that took down the Infusionsoft website. Now, this is a story, by the way, that goes on in infamy, and I will be totally frank and honest with you, I do not remember how this happened. I don't even think that I knew at the time that it had happened. And so this is one of those stories where everybody swears up and down that this is something that I did, that I screwed some things up and I didn't actually know. So let's go back. If you remember, I said a couple weeks ago that when I started at Infusionsoft, I was making videos, training support videos for the Mortgage Pro template sites. There was a whole other part of, there's a whole other part of Infusionsoft, which was the Mortgage Pro template sites, and these were just basically little sticky note websites. That's what we used to call them, sticky note websites, where like you just pull off your website and there you go. And then you can upload some of your own images and some videos and things and some files, but for the most part, it was pretty template, pretty cookie cutter, and I should not have taken that off because now I can't put it back on. Anyway, so because it didn't cost us anything to use them, and at the time, like, we were in the early days of buying domain names, and so we actually, in the early days of Infusionsoft, we were a domain reseller for GoDaddy. So we set up a reseller account, and when these people would come to us, we would get a commission through GoDaddy because we were selling domain names for these template sites. So we would get all sorts of random domain names, buy them on behalf of the client, and then they would get the website with with all the fun bells and whistles and things. Well, at the time, I had just started really getting into the internet. It was a new thing still, and when I was in high school, I didn't it wasn't big until I got into like junior high and high school. I remember it was a thing when I was younger, but it didn't really get that big. So I was like MySpace and things were happening at that time, and so I saw this opportunity to make a website for myself, and so so I grabbed one of these template sites and I uploaded some videos and things, and at the time I was in a band in high school. And so I took it upon myself that it was a way that I could sell CDs for the recording that we had just made off the band. Now, I don't think I sold more than 2 recordings, but what did happen is I got really into uploading photos and videos to the website as a way of like, hey, check out my website. It's got some videos and things on it. So what I did was, you'll remember from yesterday, there's a lot of video footage, just random little clips that we went through that were recorded back then. And in fact, I think what I'm going to start doing is maybe every once a month or maybe once every other week, do a way back Wednesday kind of thing and just release some of those old videos because they are hilarious. We'll see what the people that are featured in the videos think of those videos, but they're really good. But there happens to be there's one video in particular that really stands out, and it's because that video, for whatever reason, was uploaded to somehow, I don't even know how this happened, but somehow I uploaded the video to the website, and it replaced Infusionsoft.com. And I don't think it was Infusionsoft.com, that particular domain at the time, but it replaced the website for the company. And, again, nobody really came to me and said, hey, you did this thing, this is a problem, or made a big deal out of that particular thing. I just remember the story being told humorously later that I had taken down the website. And I vaguely remember that you couldn't upload there was a technical limitation, and you couldn't upload specific file types or file sizes directly to the Mortgage Pro template sites, and so you had to upload them in the back end. And so I think what may have happened, and somebody who was around then, please tell me what happened, because I still to this day don't remember. But I think I uploaded it through the direct FTP to the back end of the websites, but somehow uploaded it to the wrong folder, and didn't know what I was doing. And it's interesting looking back. That's just more of a funny anecdote, and it's not really, doesn't really have a lesson necessarily tied to it, except maybe don't hire derpy high school students. Although, like, even that, I think, just because I was a derp in high school and I did something stupid like that, I mean, look at now. Look what I've been able to do now. Not to necessarily pat myself on the back, but like just to speak to the fact that, you know, that hasn't been the norm. You know, it's not like I've taken the website down every month and it's become an issue. And so maybe if there is a lesson in there somewhere, it's like, don't let one thing rob you of potential future success, right? If you're in a company and you have somebody who does something dumb, like, people do dumb things. And you have to take into consideration a lot of the context. Like, yeah, I did dumb things. I was 18. I didn't really understand what I was doing, really. I had a decent enough technical understanding, and I knew Infusionsoft pretty well, and I understood how to deal with people on the support chat. But when it came to like website maintenance, or really understanding how all that stuff worked, like, not a big deal. And looking back, the other important thing is that it was a much bigger deal, or it was a much smaller deal then than it would have been now, right? We were a smaller company, and you know, not a whole, I think some people saw it, and I could be way underestimating the effect of this, because it may have been way worse. Anyway, without any further ado, I know I've just kind of droned on. I'm just going to show you the video. So again, due to the magic of video editing and the fact that this is not a live video, I'm going to snap my fingers and that video is going to play. And then I want to talk just a couple of seconds about it after it's done playing. Ready, and go.
Boom. Okay, 911. Have you guys ever accidentally called 911?
No.
I think I did it once, but I hung up fast enough.
Tappity tap tap. Oh.
You make people think we don't order.
So a couple of things about that video. These are totally random, off-the-wall connections and things that I made, but as I was thinking through, I knew I wanted to tell that story and show that video today. And I also knew that there's not really a deep lesson there, except, like I said already, sometimes taking things in context and understanding, number one, I was in high school, so what can you expect? Number two, the internet and websites and Infusionsoft.com back then was not that big of a deal. And like, in context, not just of like that situation, but in the long-term context of what's happening, sometimes small things seem like big things. In fact, actually, maybe there is a lesson there. When I did some work for a fairly famous marketer fairly recently, and there was a situation where we were sending out a broadcast to his whole list. I'm sure that anybody who's done work for Infusionsoft customers knows exactly where I'm going with the story. Sent out a broadcast to his whole list, and the merge field for first name was formatted incorrectly. So instead of everybody getting, hey, blah, 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 it was, hey, squiggly, contact, dot, space, first name, or if the N wasn't capitalized in first name or something stupid like that, right? So this email gets sent out to his entire list of whatever, 50,000 people, which we all know is really like 5,000 people that are engaged, that care. But it got sent out, and his staff, now this is to his credit, he understood that particular situation was not the end of the world. And in fact, he understood, I think more than many people do, that a mistake like that is actually an opportunity to rekindle your relationship with your list and to remind people that you're humans. And a lot of times we get so full of ourselves, and so as business owners, we get so full of ourselves and so committed and connected to our brand that the idea of something happening, of a mistake happening, somehow throws us into this, I don't even know what the word is, throws us into some sort of a tizzy where we can't imagine or fathom how we're going to overcome the problems and the issues of that one little mistake. And yet, if you look in the context of a 10-year business experience, 10 years of being in business, one mistake in one email on one day, most of the people you send it to aren't going to even notice, right? Most of the important people aren't even paying attention to it. And at the time, it was the same thing at the time. Like, websites weren't quite as important. It wasn't like we were getting, again, I may be underestimating how bad this was back then. But the point that I'm making is, in the context of what's happened over the last 10 years, that is more of an interesting and funny anecdote than it is anything else. And if you watch the video, it's just dumb. Like, there's even a part in there where somebody says, I don't remember who it was, but somebody says, they're going to think we don't work. As if, again, and that was like, almost like a microcosm of it. Like, recording a video, nobody knew that I was actually going to post it somewhere, that anybody was going to see it. And definitely nobody back then knew that I was going to post it now, today. But the other thing, so that's an important thing, I think, maybe, is understanding the context of what's going on in your business and in your life, and realizing that nothing is really as bad as it seems. Nothing is really as grand or as dramatic or as terrible as it might seem initially, because, tomorrow is different. And in reality, most of the time, in the marketing world, people aren't paying attention and don't care. So it doesn't really matter. As much as we hope and wish that it did matter, that everything we did matters, it doesn't. The other thing that I just wanted to point out is a small thing, which is, did you notice how that video was like 45 seconds longer than it should have been? Did you feel that? I just watched it this morning again to refresh my memory, and I remember as I was watching it this morning, I thought, that video was funny, like it's kind of clever and whatever, and I was banging on the thing, but I went on for way too long. Like, I had to hit all the things. It was like halfway through I realized, oh, I either need to shut this down or I need to like go on and do other things. And so I started hitting the keyboard and started hitting the coins and all sorts of stuff. There was an experience not too long ago. Well, actually, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, where I went to some event that somebody was having, and a guy was speaking, and he came out, and his like opening was him playing the guitar. He was like soloing on the guitar, and he was decent. He wasn't bad. He was okay. But I remember having the same thought back then, that it went on for maybe he took like 3 extra bars, meaning like it was like 3 times too long. And he like just kept going. He was trying to milk it completely for all that it was worth. And he couldn't sustain like the level of me being impressed. Now, most people that were there were totally impressed. But I feel like the general sense after about a minute of him soloing was, okay, now get to your thing, right? And I think the important thing there is to realize that those kinds of, whether you can call them gimmicks or you can call them whatever you want, but those kinds of things that you do in your marketing and in your business, there is a point where there's this equilibrium where less is more, where if you try and milk it too hard, it's not going to work. And in those situations, it's important, I think, to be self-aware and realize that you can do this thing, but if you try and milk it too much and you try and lean on it too much, you're not giving yourself enough room to actually perform. Like, he was there to speak, not to play the guitar. If we knew that he was there to perform on the guitar, it would have been fine, because that would have been the context. We would have understood, yeah, he's here to perform for us, and then we're going to be entertained. But we knew that he was there to speak, and so when he played the guitar for the first 5 minutes of his 20-minute speech, it was like, is he going to talk, or is he trying to like fill time? And so there's a lot of instances where those types of, and it's not just like when you're performing, what is your intro, or it's not just in a video, how long is it? It's like all kinds of things. Like if you're creating a chatbot, chatbots are really famous, or not famous, but really popular right now. If you're creating a chatbot, does the chatbot try to do too much? Like, is it trying to overextend itself? Meaning, have you tried to automate too much of that process, right? You ever been called in on a phone service and like they have automated options, like way too many automated options? Like press 1 for customer support, press 2 for sales, 1. Press 1 if this is an issue with your website, press 2 if it's a technical issue, 1. Press 1 if it's an issue with your login page, press 2 if it's an issue with your submit button, 1. Press 1 if it's an issue with the logo, like all the way down the line, creating too much, and all you want is just to talk to somebody. And I think that in those instances, I think they let data falsely point them in the direction of needing to have that specificity before the conversation starts. And in reality, you know, I've said this a couple of times, but this actually comes back to what I've said before, which is you are the one doing the work, not whatever the tool, not whatever the gimmick, not whatever the thing is that you're doing. Like the guy was speaking, he wasn't playing the guitar, and his guitar wasn't going to speak for him. So cool gimmick, come out with a really cool lick. Maybe it's like a little groove, yeah, right? Done. Now get to your speech. Same thing with the video. Like that would have been, I think, even funnier if it was cut up, like in 3 segments, like shorter segments, where it's like the intro, just banging on the thing, and boom, next, like rhythm, and next. And then there's another video. And you take the same length and you just cut it up. The point that I'm making is you can't lean on the gimmick. You can't lean on that stuff because that will just expose the fact that there's nothing underneath it, right? So anyway, a couple of different lessons, a couple of different things that I've taken from that for today. This has been a lot of fun going back and talking about the early days. I'm sure there's a lot of stories that I'm leaving on the table. In fact, there is one that I'm going to tell tomorrow. I was going to actually wrap it up and say we're going to move on tomorrow, but there's one story that I want to tell tomorrow. When we first, around the time when Clint first brought in the Rowan Award and like the Employee of the Month driving the 350Z, there was an experience that I had with Tara where we drove Clint's car to go to Costco. And there's a lot of things that are packed into that story that I want to chat about. So anyway, hope you enjoy your Monday. Last thing that I want to bring up to you is later today, there's going to be a post released. I'm going to start doing I want to incorporate more of the music of my life into this kind of stuff that we're doing. And so later today, there's going to be a post. It's a video. I want you to watch the video. Don't Google it, but I want you to guess, where is that band from? Where does it sound like they're from? And then Google it afterwards. I think you'll be surprised. Anyway, so look out for that. And I'm excited to release this to you. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.